For those listeners out there who may not be familiar with the Carnegie Center, please go check it out, Carnegie Center for Literacy and Learning. It's a great place that Neil is the director of, but they do a lot more than just literacy.
Yes.
I mean, you all have tons. I mean, I get your
Yes,
little thing you all send out physically still, and
it's kind of hard to describe us. I'll try a couple of different ways, but one is we work with people in reading and writing from birth to death. Reading and writing is where we are. We call it a cycle of literacy in that we start with kids who are born at a local hospital, and we give each parent who has the child a book that they can begin reading immediately to their children. It turns out that in the first 2 or 3 years of life, rich families buy way more books, middle class as well, but poor kids don't get books. They don't get read to. And all the synapses that go snapping in their minds between 0 and 2 or 3, just from reading and sitting in the lap of a person you love and having this, interaction and this looking at colors, looking at squiggly lines that eventually
the ideas are kind of. I mean,
you can
like through osmosis.
You cannot overestimate what goes on in the child's mind when they're even looking at hearing a story and they want to hear it again and again, and the mythologies that are growing up, and then they ask questions and they learn. So if you are 3 or 4 and you haven't gotten that, and you've got a kid who's gotten all that, the difference in their ability is nothing to do with intelligence. It has all to do with the experience they've gotten. So you have to fast track this kid. And what they start doing is tracking them a year or 2 later. But they haven't been able to catch up in 2 years what this kid learned in 4 years. So all the rich, middle class, white children who have the background are going here, while the less. So we work with a lot of those kids who don't get those early attention. We have book groups for literally little kids come and we give them a book and they go home and they read it and they come back and they talk about them, the books. So we try to get them involved in books and conversation about
foreign
books.
language teachers down there.
Yeah, that too.
I've seen some classes on writing your own biography.
Yes,
on
for
essays,
adults, we have every kind of writing
classes. The novel, writing the short story, science fiction,
writing nonfiction, memoir.
Memoir, I've seen a lot of that down there. It's great.
Yep.
And even Tai Chi and yoga classes I've seen in there.
We have done. we try to mix it all with writing, yoga and writing really come together very well.
Yeah, because you can get yourself into a state where you're actually feel settled enough to actually to write. And
you can also open yourself in a way that allows words to come to you and ideas and thoughts. And
one of the nice things, though, I think about that space is that it's such an old building that's full of character, and so when you're in there, there's a feeling of I don't know. Maybe mystique is the wrong word, but it has a sense of old world.
Oh man!
And I mean high ceilings and all this, and also because the staff is there who are very encouraging, very supportive.
Right. You met
it's just it's just really it's a wonderful place.
I've been I told you I never wanted to work for anybody again. I didn't even want a job that I had to make people work,
Sure.
But that place was so essential to me as a writer. When in 1997, I went there with my idea for Father Loss. I just said, I got this idea for a book, and they are all like, that's a great idea. And here's the class you should take. And if you don't get that every now and then, somebody going, that's a great idea, and someone reading a chapter and saying, wow, I never thought about it this way, or I never, or that story is told, or I don't get what you're trying to get across over here. That story really loses me, right? All of that kind of feedback got me to the place where I felt like I had a quality book that I could pitch to a New York publisher, and they would be.
Like this looks like he really went the.
Exactly. I got a lot of people. Even my first 25 rejections said, this is a really well-written book proposal. Men don't buy books about emotional things.
Right.
That's pretty much
Yeah.
what the feedback.
Well, in your case, because you have focused on that niche
Yeah.
that wasn't really there too much before.
It's true.
Probably a lot of publishers just couldn't have the
They
vision
couldn't,
of it because
But
it's like there's
one-
nothing comparable.
One guy, well, really, a woman got the vision of it, and she tried really hard at this one company. It was a spiritual. Remember Harper San Francisco?
Mm-hmm.
They used to do a lot of spiritual books.
Yeah.
And she had really wanted it and thought it was going to be, but she could not get it past their marketing division. They said, we can't market
Kept
this,
shooting it down.
we don't have it. Problem was, they didn't have a list. They didn't know what men bought books.
Yeah. If it wasn't like hunting or fishing or field and stream
Exactly.
magazines or something.
Like this thing, but men didn't really, and to this day, I think it's bought mostly by women, but 99.9% of the responses I get are from men, and I still get them.
Yeah.
It's not the
Because
women.
it strikes a chord with them.
It does.
Yeah.
I think women buy it and then give it to their
Yes.
husbands or
Right.
sons.
The men don't go out to the store looking for a book.
Right.
But the thing about a book like that is that men don't necessarily like to talk with other men that much about this sort of thing either. So it was like they could be internal, but still have the camaraderie of other men who had been through.